Hi kids, it's Bunny with another junk journal, and this one I call Autumn Rose, and it is a hardback. Let me pull out a little. It is hardback, covered with this really pretty old upholstery fabric. It has 4 signatures, and on the front there's a brooch and pretty picture and lace and a satin ribbon holding it all together. Take that off. And we'll take a look inside. The digital pages that you see are from the paper Cameo on Etsy. And in this first pocket, inside the cover, is a lace pocket with a journaling card. All journaling cards are blank on the back, so you can write on them. There's a tag. Tags are mostly blank on the back, so you can write on them. There's a little glassine envelope, and inside of it is a tiny little vintage photograph. And this glassine bag has a letter for whoever buys the journal, telling them about the book and what it can be used for. And in this tuck there is a journaling card and a pretty tag. This tag has a pocket on the back with a little journaling card and a bit of ephemera. And this is a cigarette trading card, vintage. Very cute. Throughout you'll find I have clusters of things, little details. This is a page from a vintage book. This is some vintage wallpaper. I stamped the fern on the back. Here is some vellum with a pretty picture on it. And a doily. The blank pages are coffee dyed. Another vintage book page. And here's just some little fragile tissue-like paper. This is from a vintage magazine. This is Edith Holden. And this is from a vintage magazine. I gussied it up a little. And in this little envelope pocket there is a journaling card and a vintage photograph. Looks like they're making mussels. And here's a teeny weeny itty bitty envelope. Inside of it is a teeny weeny itty bitty journaling card and a vintage stamp. It's probably a foreign stamp. And inside this little envelope pocket is another journaling card. And you'll notice there's lace on the edges of some of the pages. Here's some vintage sheet music, and all of the yellowing on it is natural. It's truly old. Truly old. Center of the first signature. And just a little collaging there. Vintage sheet music. Here is a journaling card and a tag and an envelope. Excuse me. It's got a little magnetic closing. Inside are just several bits of ephemera. Lucky Spot Specialist, Apple Specialist, must be some game, a game card of some sort. And here are some Chinese script, and all that goes back in there. Here's another vintage magazine page, more Edith Holden, more of that advertisement. This is envelope is a flip out, and inside of it is a journaling card. And on the other side there is a beautiful vintage, what do you call these? Postcards. 1912, from 1912. It's very pretty. Continue on. There's more vellum with a pretty picture on it. More vintage wallpaper. In this pocket or tuck, there's a journaling card and a vintage photograph and a vintage receipt. And in this tuck, there's a journaling card and a tag and another teeny tiny envelope with a teeny tiny journaling card and a stamp inside. There's an old map. And there's just some old paper. Here's some ledger paper that's been coffee dyed, and I did a collage on it. There's another flip out envelope, and in it is a journaling card. Here's some interesting paper, possibly handmade. Vintage book page, just a colorful, not coffee dyed, but otherwise dyed page. Vintage sheet music. There's a very pretty journaling card and a cute guy. Vintage photograph and another little journaling card. And I'm not even halfway through and my back hurts already. Okay. And now here is a big old envelope, and in it is a pretty and big journaling card and a vintage love letter, 1940 something. It was during the war, and it's from a love letter from a soldier to his wife, and it's very sweet. You'll want to read that. And also I'm putting some vintage stationery in there that you can journal on. Another collage. This is just envelope with let's see what's inside. A pretty journaling card. More sheet music. In this tuck there's a journaling card, and here is a tag with a pocket on the back and a little journaling card and some ephemera in it. Another teeny tiny envelope with, you guessed it, a teeny tiny journaling card and a vintage stamp inside. A vintage book page. A little stenciling there. A little collaging. And in this pocket is a journaling card and a tag and a little glassine envelope, and inside of it is a pretty sticker. And continuing on, another journaling card and a tag, and here's a vintage playing card in fall colors, vintage book page, vintage magazine page. Here is some sort of probably Chinese book page. Here's Edith Holden again. Never good enough Edith Holden. And her lovely graphics. Vintage sheet music. Envelope pocket with a vintage photograph and a journaling card. And a tag with a pocket on the back. Oh, and inside the envelope is a little, I guess it's from tea, a tea collectible card, tea card. Vintage. And here's some vellum with roses on it. Vintage book page. More wallpaper. And here's a graphic of a deer I thought was cool. Journaling card. Tag. And another teeny weeny envelope with teeny weeny stuff inside. Here's a flip up. It's a piece of lace. Come right underneath it. Here's another envelope flip out. Inside of it is a vintage photograph of a girl with a car in a ditch waiting to be rescued. July 1949. 1949. I like that. Going on. Vintage magazine page, vintage book page, journaling card, and a tag. And this is a journaling card and a vintage photograph of a guy smoking. How exciting. And another tag with a pocket on the back. And here's a pocket with a miniature journal in it. And in this miniature journal, there's miniature ephemera and cute little graphics. Might be able to jot a few notes in there. And the pocket goes around. It's actually a long envelope and forms another pocket. And here is another beautiful vintage postcard. This one is, I can't read the date, but it's 30s or 40s, I think. Here's another, this is a vintage liquor label. And this is another large side pocket. Inside of it is a weird postcard, vintage postcard. I think it looks weird, of a doll. And a journaling card for owl lovers. And here's a page from a 1949 notebook that you can journal on. Oh, I like this. This is from a vintage children's book. What do boys and girls eat? Boys and girls eat bread. They eat fruit too, and they like milk. Do the boys make bread? They do not. The girls make it. Do dogs like bread? They do not. They cannot eat it well. You can tell that's old. Everybody breaks bread now, even the dogs. And here's another envelope flip out. And it has a couple of things. A vintage photograph and a journaling card. And on the other side, there's a vintage page from the Congressional Directory. Ooh. And that got turned up. There we go. More vintage book pages. It's a journaling card and a vintage photograph and a tag. More vintage magazine and book pages.